Hi guys, in this video I want to give an overview of Jupyter Notebook. As I mentioned already, this is the environment we'll be using to write all of our code in the course. So I'm going to find Anaconda Navigator using the search bar on Mac. I'll bring up the search bar by typing Command plus spacebar, and I'll type Anaconda, and as you can see it pops up, so I'll open it. Note, if you're using a Windows, you can just use the search bar in Windows and type Anaconda, and you should be able to find the application. Okay, so there are lots of different environments that Anaconda distribution comes with. We'll be using Jupyter Notebook. So I'll click on Launch. And what should happen is that Jupyter Notebook will launch in your default browser. So my default browser is Chrome, and Jupyter Notebooks has launched. But note, it's not using the internet. It runs on a local server in your computer, and it's using the browser as a web interface for running your code. So what I can see here are the directories and files in my computer. So if I want to open a new Jupyter Notebook, then I should find a directory that I'd like to open it in. So I'll just click on Desktop, and I can see I've got two directories in my desktop level. So to open a new notebook, just click on New. And here, under the Notebook section, it says Python 3 Notebook. And you should get a new tab with a notebook. So now if I go back to the Directory tab, you can see there's an untitled IPYNB file. You can actually see this file on my desktop here, untitled.ipynb. One thing to note is that you can't open the file directly by clicking on it. It's a special extension that can only be opened on Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so let me close this notebook down and quit Anaconda Navigator. So on the notebook, I can click on File, Close and Hold. And then on the directory page, I can just click on Quit. And I can close the browser. Note that I have this terminal open that's been logging everything that we've done, from opening Jupyter Notebook to quitting it. You can also close this. So now let me close Anaconda Navigator as well. Okay, so let me try to open this untitled IPNYB file right now. Even if I search the App Store, it won't be able to open it. And that's because it can only be opened directly in Jupyter Notebook. So I'll cancel this. So let's open Jupyter Notebook again. But this time I'll show you another way that you can open Jupyter Notebook. You can do it using your command prompt on a Windows or your terminal on a Mac. So I'll bring up my terminal by searching for it. And now I can type Jupyter Notebook and press enter. And Jupyter Notebook has launched on my browser again. Okay, great, so let me go to desktop and open this untitled IPNYB file that we opened previously. Great, so as you can see, the file has opened. So now let me give an overview of the notebook interface. So right now, the title of the notebook is untitled. I can change that by clicking here and calling the notebook my_first_notebook and click rename. Jupyter Notebook works on the basis of cells. You have an input cell and then an output cell which displays your result. So I'm going to type some code and use the print function. And I'll print the string hello world. And I'll click run here to run this cell. And now you can see that the statement hello world has been printed. Alternatively, you can also run a cell by using the shortcut Shift and Enter. And note, if you use Alt and Enter, then you'll insert a new cell in between. So I can continue doing that and a new cell is inserted. But as I type Shift and Enter, then I go down each cell and a new cell is only inserted if I'm right at the bottom. So now let me just type 1 plus 1, a simple mathematical operation, and type Shift plus Enter, and I get an output cell with the result of 2. You can also add new input cells by clicking on this plus icon here. You can also cut and paste cells. For example, click on this scissor icon to cut, and then I'll use this paste icon to paste the result here. You can also copy and paste by clicking this icon to copy and the location you'd like to paste. You can use these up and down keys to move up and down the cells. So if I click on a cell, so for instance this, and I want to move it down, I click here and it can move the cell along. So you're already familiar with run, that will run your cell. This button will stop your kernel. This button will restart your kernel. And this button will restart your kernel and run the whole notebook again. So each individual cell will be rerun. You can also type text in your notebook. You can use that by setting this from code to markdown. So now if I type something, even if it's a function, it won't get run as Python code, it will get run as text. So this is useful if you want to add some comments to your notebook. Okay, so now let's look at this top ribbon here. You can use this File ribbon to save your notebook, open a new one, and so forth. Under the Edit ribbon, you can cut cells, copy cells, paste cells, and so on, similar to what we've seen in the toolbar here. You can also adapt your view by toggling your header and toggling your toolbar to create more space for your code. The Insert ribbon can insert cells above and below. Then you can also use the Cell ribbon to run specific cells. You can use Run All to run all cells in your notebook again. This is particularly useful when your kernel's been interrupted or you've changed a variable. Let me give you an example. So if I assign a variable, and I'll speak about assigning variables later in this course, for now just treat it as an FYI. So if I just type x equals 1, press Shift and Enter, and then call on this variable x, I get the value 1. So if I do x plus 5, the answer is 6. But now, if I change the value of x to 2, and I run the above cell, I get 7. Now, if I click Run All, the value this time is 6, because all the cells have been run in order, from top to bottom, and the value of x is 1 when this has run, and then it gets reassigned to 2 after. So that's just something to note about how to run your cells. And finally, I recommend you use the Help ribbon to take the user interface tour and also look at the keyboard shortcuts. Okay, great. So that was a quick tour of the Jupyter Notebook interface. We'll be using this throughout the course, so you'll get plenty of practice with it. I want to do a quick video to show you how to add comments directly into your cells. So if you start your text by typing the hash symbol, then anything on that line will be regarded as a comment. So when you run the cell, it will be ignored. Only the cells without the hash symbol will run. If you have multiple lines of comments, you can type another hash for each commented line. And as you can see, this operation works fine. If I remove the hash, then we get an error. Comments are useful for explaining what you're doing, especially when someone else needs access to your notebook. Please ensure you download the Course Resources folder. The Course Resources contains all of the Jupyter notebooks for most of the lectures in this course. It also contains the notebooks that are required for the challenge and assignment questions, along with the solutions too, so you'll need it in order to complete that. The Course Resources can be located as a downloadable resource with this lecture. You should also download and unzip the folder to a sensible location. I've downloaded the Course Resources and saved it onto my desktop. Most lectures will have a notebook associated with it, and these notebooks will contain additional information, so don't just watch the lecture videos, be sure to code along and refer to the notebooks for additional links and resources. The notebooks are IPYNB file extensions, so you can only open them in the Jupyter environment. There are also additional files saved in the folder too, depending on the specific lecture. You should access it via the file directory when you launch Jupyter Notebook, and locating the Course Resources folder. Mine is saved on my desktop, so I can see it right here. And when you click into the folder, you can see subfolders. Each one is specific to a section of the course. When you click into the section, you can see folders specific to individual lectures. You should be able to tell by the name what lecture the folder relates to. But note, not all lectures will have notebooks, but most of them will. You should also have these notebooks open simultaneously while you're reviewing the lecture videos. You're also welcome to have a blank notebook open so you can code along to reinforce your learning. Okay, great. So if you have any problems downloading the course resources, please give me a shout on the Q&A.